channel. This is another edition of Build Kit Review. This time I'm going to be showing you guys in a little more detail the 1957 Ford Thunderbird I built a couple of weeks ago. This car is based on the AMT kit. The kit is quite old. The molding is old, the tooling is old, and it's based on the actual dealer promo that AMT did for Ford to be distributed on the dealer network. So this kit has actually a connection with the real Thunderbird. The kit is quite simple, just because it's based on the promo. So not many parts. That keeps things simple. And it builds quite nicely just out of the box. Not much detail, but what is present is actually well done, with the exception of the top, but I'll tell about the top later. Now back to the car. This one I painted with an authentic Ford Motor Company color called Inca Gold that I had made a couple years ago when I built my 1957 Ford Fairlane 500 Club Victoria that is painted in Inca Gold and Colonial White. This one is Inca Gold, and I painted the top Raven Black to give it a contrast, and I think it turned out pretty nice. Its box stock. I added zero detail other than what was included in the box. And one thing I did to improve the kit, and that I do on all the builds I'm doing from, let's say, a year and a half, 2 years inward, is to actually deepen the panel lines with an X-Acto knife, almost to the point I can remove the panel line, but not getting there. The deeper you can get the panel lines, the more realistic you will have the seams to look. And I did the same here on the little vents on both sides and on the skirts. The skirts, they come separate in this edition of the kit. So what I did was to glue the skirts on the kit, do a little reinforcement on the inside with a super glue, and then to rescribe the skirt panel line here to get a more realistic finish. Hardest part on the rescribing things was the gas cap. That's very small and very delicate, so you need to be patient or you will make a mess with your X-Acto knife. The color was applied by airbrush, and it is synthetic enamel. It was done with the touch-up formula from Ford from 1957, so the shine on it is quite authentic. Those cars, when they were new, they were quite shiny, but those synthetic enamels were susceptible to the weather, and they were not as resistant to fading as modern paints are that have a clear coat. And if you wanted your car to look good, you had to polish it with a certain frequency, and most people didn't care, so cars ended up looking like rust buckets, especially the ones in the United States, in the Rust Belt states. And a lot of damage is done to the cars, even modern cars with modern rust proofing. On those states, you just have to look on some channels that involves mechanical work on real cars, like South Main Auto, and you'll see what I mean. So it's not those cars' fault. They were quite good for the time they were manufactured. But now back to the model. Those scripts, those Thunderbird scripts, and the emblems here, the fins here, chrome fins here, were all foiled before the body being painted yellow, and after I had the primer on the body. If you paint those before you have the primer, when you remove the paint, you'll have a very thin line primer color around the lettering, and that will detract from the final appearance you want. So I first gave the model a coat of primer all around, and then after that I painted I foiled every emblem I wanted to show and painted the model, the Inca Gold, polished it, and using a very fine toothpick and lacquer thinner, I scrubbed the paint from the top of the chrome until you could actually see the emblem. And that works quite nice for me. And here you see the interior of the car. To do the dash and the door panels, I used a homemade foil. I applied the glue to the shiny side and left the semi-gloss side to the outside to replicate, or try to replicate, the look of the T-Bird original T-Bird dash that had a finish in engine turning that gives the overall appearance of less shine than chrome. So I had to arrive at a finish that was metallic but not as shiny as chrome, and that was the hard part. After that, I detailed the instruments and the steering column, used some epoxy glue to make lenses for the instruments, and used Molotov paint on the horn ring on the steering wheel. All the other chrome of the car is foil. And the engine is also box stock. Let's see if the hood will open right now. Let's open the hood. Open. Here we have it. Here's the hood. The engine is the Ford 312 white block. It's box stock. I added nothing in terms of detail. I just added paint. All the wiring on the firewall, everything is just painted with a fine brush and semi-gloss paint, including the battery. And the battery is not accurate because it's a 6-volt battery, and in 1957 Ford had 12-volt batteries. But that was a small detail, and I didn't see fit to actually sand the top of the battery and make a decal. That was my original idea. I ended just detailing it the way it came. I also detailed with paint the washer bag here because it's so round and has a compound curve that a custom decal would be extremely difficult to make to look good. So I just painted it. The underside of the car was done to replicate an all-stock Thunderbird. I'm quite happy with the result here. The exhaust is molded to the floor pan, as is the rear end, and it was all detail painting that brought all those detail to life. The frame itself was detail painted with a brush. I tried to replicate what the car would look like when brand new. For the top, that the kit includes, it's a hard top that was fiberglass on the real car, and I painted it raven black. And this top just goes on like this. It has no specific location pins or location points or tabs or anything like that. So it is just really an accessory to the model, but it looks good. This form here on the top of the window is not quite accurate, as the rear glass also is not perfectly accurate because it's too deep on the top. But all in all, I think the model resulted pretty nice looking. And if you want to actually finish a model and don't keep a ton of time trying to correct little inaccuracies, you can have a very nice looking model that everybody will enjoy, but will have small defects and problems in accuracy. I'm not the biggest fans of defects in accuracy, but I see no point in fixing the top. I really don't. Even though a lot of people would fix the top, I didn't. I'm kind of lazy. Guys, I hope you liked the build kit review on the 57 Ford Thunderbird, and have a great weekend. Bye bye.